Shabbat Shalom, everyone. I am so glad you're joining me this evening for services. We will begin first together in song. Hine ma tov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov u'manayim, 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 shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov, yelalai, yalalalalai. Hine ma tov, yelalai, yalalalalai. Hine ma tov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. How good and how pleasant it is that brothers and sisters and we all dwell together, that we dwell together. Welcome, Shabbat Shalom. If you haven't said hi in the chat, please do so. It's so nice to see who's here with us this evening as we continue together. As we prepare to light the candles of Shabbat, we note that we light not one, but two candles, so that we both remember and protect Shabbat. As we light two candles, let us take the message that two is better than one with us, that support is needed in our lives, that we are not supposed to be alone. May these lights bring light into our world, and may they cause us to become both our own light and a light for others. As we are taught, we are to be a light unto the nations. I hope you'll join me in lighting the Shabbat candles. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu l'hadlik ner shel Shabbat. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the light of Shabbat. And together we say, Amen. This evening begins our recognition of Refugee Shabbat. Throughout our service, I will be sharing information about refugees, and we will hear from Mark Hatfield, the president and CEO of HIAS, in the sermon slot this evening. Many of our family members or friends came to the United States as refugees, and our history as Jews is a history of fleeing persecution. From our need to flee our land to Egypt because of famine, to our fleeing from Egypt to the desert, to our forced exile to Babylon, to being kicked out of country after country throughout the Middle Ages, to the Holocaust. Our history teaches us the importance of having somewhere to flee to, and that includes this country for many of our ancestors and many of us and many other people. This country is a country of immigrants. Refugee Shabbat is sponsored by HIAS, the Hebrew Immigrant Aid Society, which was founded in 1881 to assist Jews fleeing pogroms in Russia and Eastern Europe. In the 2000s, HIAS expanded their resettlement work to include assistance to non-Jewish refugees, including beginning to work in countries where refugees flee to. HIAS is a recognized resettlement agency by the US government. Along with tonight's service, I encourage you to participate in a national Havdalah service tomorrow evening that HIAS is sponsoring, and an educational opportunity on Sunday afternoon. Registration for those events was in the weekly emails Monday today, our March newsletter, and is also available on their website at hias.org. We continue with a reading by HIAS before reciting Kiddush, our blessing over the fruit of the vine during Kabbalat Shabbat. We lift this cup with words, remembering our ancestors' exodus from Egypt on our lips. Zecher l'tziat Mitzrayim. As we recall that ancient journey from slavery to freedom, we think also of the many times throughout history that our people have wandered in search of safety. From Tsarist Russia to the horrors of the Holocaust, to persecution in Iran, the former Soviet Union, Cuba, Ethiopia, and beyond, time and time again, we have found ourselves forced out of our homelands for being who we are. But each time we were held together by community and assisted by those who risked their safety and protection of ours, we continued to survive against all odds as our hearts grew to hold others who would come to experience what we had. We fill our Kiddush cup to overflowing, hoping that the joy of Shabbat will spread into the week to come. And so it is as we welcome refugees and asylum seekers into our communities today. Recalling our exodus from Egypt, the Torah tells us, "You know the soul of the stranger." While our responsibility to protect the rights of refugees and asylum seekers does not derive from our experience in Egypt, that experience does amplify our obligation to welcome. May our commitment to welcome fill to overflowing just as our Kiddush cup does, leading us to take bold action in support of refugees and asylum seekers from every corner of the earth. Just as the Jewish people have thrived, so too do today's refugees of all faiths and ethnicities thrive as they rebuild their lives and become part of their new communities. We lift this cup with the words, remembering the ingenuity of creation on our lips, Zicharon Lema'aseh Bereshit. We continue creating and repairing the world as we build our communities and the collective strength of each individual, remembering that we are stronger and strongest when we come together. Please join me. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho v'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit ki hu yom techila lemigrei kodesh zecher letziat Mitzrayim, Kivanu bacharta, Veltanu kidashta, Mikol hamim, Veshabbat kodshecha, Pe'ahava uvratzon, Hinchaltanu, Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh, HaShabbat. Amen. We continue together with the Chadodi, welcoming the Sabbath bride. Lechadodi likrat kala yalalai 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lechadodi likrat kala yalalai 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad Ishmianu el hamyuchad Adonai echad u'shmo echad, l'shemo tiferet v'litila. Lecha dodi likrat kala, yalalai, 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 b'nei Shabbat, nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, yalalai, 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 b'nei Shabbat, nekabela. Likrat Shabbat, lechu v'nelcha, ki hi mekor habracha, merosh mikadem nesucha, sof maaseh b'machashavat tehila, lecha dodi likrat kala, yalalai, 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 b'nei Shabbat, nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, yalalai, 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 b'nei Shabbat, nekabela. Hitoreri, kiva kumi uri, uri, shirda beri. Kivod Adonai alai knigla, lecha dodi likrat kala, yalalai, 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 b'nei Shabbat, nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, yalalai, 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 b'nei Shabbat, nekabela. We rise in body or spirit as we welcome the Sabbath bride. Boi v'shalom ateret bala, gam besimcha uvetzolach, toch emunei am segula, boi chala. Lecha dodi likrat kala, yalalai, 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 b'nei Shabbat, nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, yalalai, 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 b'nei Shabbat, nekabela. If you haven't said hello in the chat yet, please feel free to do so. And Shabbat Shalom. Newly appointed Secretary of State Antony Blinken has said the experiences of his family members who fled persecution for the United States have informed his view of America's role in the world. His grandfather, Maurice Blinken, escaped pogroms in Russia before immigrating to the United States. His stepmother, Vera Blinken, fled communist Hungary and later helped other refugees come to America. And Blinken's stepfather, Samuel Pizer, survived 4 years in Nazi concentration camps and escaped a death march before being rescued by US troops. For my family, as for so many generations of Americans, America has literally been the last best hope on earth, Blinken said, November 24th, 2020. We continue to enjoy a song together. Mizmor shir leyom haShabbat, tov lehodot lahadonai, ulezamer leshimcha elyon, ulezamer leshimcha elyon. Lehagid baboker chastecha, ve'emunatcha balelot. Ale Yasur ve'ale Navel, Ale Higayon Bechinor, Mizmor Shir Leyom HaShabbat, Tov Lehodot LaDonai, Ulezamer Leshimcha Elyon, Ulezamer Leshimcha Elyon. Ki samachtani Adonai b'fa'olecha, v'ma'aseh yadecha aranein, ma gadlu Ma'asecha Adonai me'od amku machshevotecha. Mizmor shir liyom haShabbat tov lehodot la'Adonai ulizamer lishimcha elyon ulizamer lishimcha elyon. Not like the brazen giant of Greek fame, with conquering limbs astride from land to land. Here at our sea-washed sunset gates shall stand a mighty woman with a torch, whose flame is the imprisoned lightning, and her name, Mother of Exiles. From her beacon-laden hand glows worldwide welcome. Her mild eyes command the air-bridged harbor that twin cities frame. Keep ancient lands your storied pomp, cries she with silent lips. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free, the wretched refuge of your teeming shore. Send these, the homeless, tempest tossed to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door. We welcome our ministering angels with Shalom Aleichem. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei HaShabbat, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei HaMlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boechem L'Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi melech malachei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu. Barchuni l'shalom malachei hashalom malachei elyon. Mi melech malachei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu. Seitchem l'shalom, malachei hashalom, malachei elyon. Mi melech malachei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu. There are now estimated to be more than 80 million who have been forcibly displaced due to persecution and violence. 26.4 million of these people are refugees. Most of the remainder are internally displaced within the borders of their own countries. 85% of refugees are being hosted in developing countries. This is largely due to geography. These countries are closest to the conflict zones people are fleeing. Turkey is the country that hosts the most refugees. 68% of the world's refugees come from just 5 countries: Syria, Venezuela, Afghanistan, South Sudan, and Myanmar. We continue together with the Chatzi Kaddish. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah. Be'alma divrach kirutei v'yamlich malchutei. B'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayedecho Beit Yisrael. Bagala, bagala, u'v'zman kariv b'meru. Amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam u'me'almaya. Yitbarach, Yitbarach, Vishtabach, Vitpar, Vitramam, Vitnase, Vithadar, Vitale, Vitalal, Shemei Kudasha, Brihu. Leila min kol birchata v'shirata, Tush bechata v'nechemata, Damiran be'alma, Bimeru. Amen. 40% of refugees are under the age of 18. Of the more than 80 million people estimated to be forcibly displaced from their homes, 30 to 34 million are estimated to be children below 18 years of age. We continue together in preparation of the Baruch, we rise in body or spirit. Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Yalla la la la, 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 yalla la la la. Baruch hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam va'ed, Le'olam va'ed. Yilalai lai lai, 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 yilalai lai lai. We continue in prayer together. Praised are you, source of creation. You divided light from dark, sea from land, sky from earth. You gave us the responsibility of caring for the earth and all its inhabitants. All of Earth's inhabitants includes our neighbors from around the world. Help us remember our responsibility as we praise you as the source of all creation. Baruch atah Adonai hama'ariv aravim. As you taught Torah to those whose names I bear, teach me Torah too. Its mystery beckons, yet I struggle with its truth. You meant Torah for me. Did you mean the struggle for me too? Don't let me struggle alone. Help me to understand, to be wise, to listen, to know. Lead me into the mystery. Baruch atah Adonai, ohev amo Yisrael. The U.S. has been resettling refugees for decades. In the aftermath of World War II, Congress enacted the first refugee legislation, providing refuge to over 650,000 displaced Europeans. Since the U.S. resettlement program was formalized through the Refugee Act of 1980, the U.S. has resettled over 3 million refugees. Refugee Act created the U.S. Refugee Admissions Program to ensure access to a uniform and effective resettlement of refugees to the United States. The U.S. RAP is a public-private partnership between nonprofit organizations and the U.S. Department of State. It includes 9 national resettlement agencies, including HIAS, and a network of hundreds of local partner organizations that resettle refugees in communities around the country. We continue together with the Shema watchword of our faith. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. You may be seated. We continue together with V'ahavta. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha v'chol nafshecha v'chol me'odecha v'hayu advarim ha'eleh asher anochi metzavecha hayom al levavecha Vishinantam levanecha, v'dibarta baham, v'shivtecha b'veitecha, uvlechtecha v'derech, uvshochbecha uvkumecha, ukshartam leot al yadecha, v'hayu letotafot beinenecha, uchtavtam hamzizo beitecha, uvisharecha. Liman tizkiru vasitem et kol mitzvotai v'yitem kedoshim lelohechem. Ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim v'hiyot lachem lelohim. Ani Adonai Elohechem. Adonai Elohechem Emet. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth. The high heavens declare your glory. May the earth reveal your justice and love. From bondage in Egypt, we were delivered. At Sinai, we bound ourselves to your way. Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces. Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed. Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea. Yai lai lai yai lai lai la 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 yai lai 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 ya la 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 yai lai lai yai lai lai la 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 yai lai 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 ya la 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 mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai mi chamocha nedar b'kodesh norah tehillah osei feleh Norah tehillah osei feleh. Malchutecha ra'uvanecha bokei hayam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam ze Elianu ve'amru ze Elianu ve'amru Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. We continue in prayer together. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up, waiting to do your will. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom aleinu, ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim. Some helpful comparisons on refugee numbers to illustrate how much admissions have dropped. Our national numbers in 2016 were 84,994, and in 2020, they were 11,814. The Michigan numbers in 2016 were 4,258, and in 2020, only 493. Refugees are the most vetted individuals entering the United States and undergo complex security checks run by the Department of Homeland Security, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the State Department, the Department of Defense, the National Counterterrorism Center, and other U.S. intelligence agencies. It can take between 18 and 24 months, and sometimes longer, from the time a refugee is referred to the USRIP to the time of arrival. National security experts have repeatedly said that the refugee resettlement program advances our national security interests, is an important foreign policy tool, and contributes to keeping our troops safe around the world. We continue together with Vishamru. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et Shabbat La'asot et Shabbat lidorotam beridolam Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et Shabbat La'asot et Shabbat lidorotam beridolam Beni uvein, Bnei Yisrael, Oti leolam, Veshamru, Bnei Yisrael, et Shabbat, Lasot et Shabbat, Ledorotam beritolam. Ki sheshet yamim, asa Adonai, et hashamayim vet haaretz v'shamru v'nei Yisrael et hashabat lasot et hashabat lidorotam beritolam. Uvayom hashvi shavat vayinafash Shavat vayinafash v'shamru v'nei Yisrael et hashabat lasot et hashabat lidorotam beritolam. Once resettled, refugees not only contribute to their new communities economically, but also play an active role in civic engagement, participate in the labor force, maintain a strong devotion to education, purchase homes, and become U.S. citizens. On average, 82% of refugees participate in the labor force, compared to the 62% national average. Refugees are twice as likely as native-born individuals to hold jobs in the service industry, and many industries like hospitality and meatpacking now rely heavily on refugee workers. Across the US, the low number of refugee arrivals is putting an unnecessary strain on businesses, especially so in rural areas. In 2015, refugees contributed more than $100 million to state and local government through the tax system and contributed $21 billion in taxes overall. We join together for the Amidah, the Tephila, our standing prayer. We rise in body or spirit. Adonai sifatai tiftahu fi tehillah. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah. Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Vekonei Hakol, V'zocher Chasei Avot v'Imahot, Umevi Gula Livnei V'nehem, L'man Shemo B'Ahava. Melech Ozer Moshe Umagin, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham Bezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechaye Metim Atarav LaHoshia, Mashiv HaRuach, Umorid HaGashem. Mechalkel Chayim Bechesed, Mechaye HaKol Berachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim Berofei Cholim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayem Emunato, Lishenei Afar, Michamocha Bal Givurot, Umido Melech, Melech Mimi to Mechaye, Umatzmiach Yeshua, B'nei Manat al Chayot Meitim. Baruch atah Adonai mechaye hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kadoshim b'chol yom yelucha selah. Baruch atah Adonai ha'el hakadosh. You may be seated. We continue in prayer. May the gift of rest is granted by you, Adonai our God. Give us the opportunity to remember the blessing of safety and security. A roof over our heads, food on our tables, safe drinking water, safety and security from anything that may threaten us. May we work towards a world where that is a given for all of humanity. Baruch atah Adonai mikadesh haShabbat. Ever present one, may we, your people Israel, be worthy in our deeds and our prayer, wherever we live, wherever we seek you, in this land and Zion restored in all lands. You are our God, whom alone we serve in reverence. Baruch atah Adonai, she'odcha levadcha bir'ah na'avod. God of goodness, we give thanks for the gift of life, wonder beyond words, for the awareness of soul, our light within, the world around us so filled with beauty, the richness of the earth which day by day sustains us. For all these and more, we offer thanks. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha ulcha na'eh lehodot. Hope you'll join me in singing Shabbat Shalom, one of our prayers for peace. Sim shalom, tova uvracha. Sim shalom, tova uvracha. Chen v'chesed v'rachamim. Chen v'chesed v'rachamim. Verachamim, sim shalom, tova uvracha, sim shalom, tova uvracha. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Amecha, sim shalom, tova uvracha, sim shalom, tova uvracha. Blessed are you, Adonai, who blesses your people Israel with peace. Baruch atah Adonai, Hamvarech et amo Yisrael, Shalom. We continue with silent prayer. Yehi yule ratzon imrefi, begyon libi lefanecha. Yehi yule ratzon imrefi, begyon libi lefanecha. Adonai tzuri, Adonai tzuri, Adonai tzuri vegoali. Adonai tzuri, Adonai tzuri, Adonai tzuri vegoali. Ose shalom bimroma, Uyase shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru Imru amen. Yase shalom. Yase shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yase shalom. Yase shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. At this point in our service, we think of those who are in need of healing of body, of mind, or of spirit. If there's someone you're thinking of and you'd like to share their name, please feel free to do so in the chat. We are thinking of Al, Rania, Dennis, Rick, Hillary, Rena, Susan, all those with COVID-19, all those suffering the after effects of the storms in the South, all those struggling with mental health challenges. We add the names Lynn, Otis, Quinn, Joe, and Linwood. Rena. We hold all those named and unnamed in our hearts as we join together with Misha Barach. Misha Barach Avotenu Mekor HaBracha Limotenu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Misha Berach Imotenu Mekor HaBracha Le'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with Refuah Shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Shabbat Shalom. I'm Mark Hetfield, President and CEO of HIAS, the International Jewish Humanitarian Agency helping displaced persons across the globe to access their rights. And it is my honor to be able to speak to you tonight on Refugee Shabbat. For most of the last year, every time I turn on the TV, I hear that we've reached another grim milestone. This is referred to COVID infections or COVID hospitalizations or COVID deaths. But unfortunately, COVID is not all that another grim milestone refers to. June 20th is World Refugee Day, the day that the United Nations releases its annual figures on people who have fled their homes and can't go back. And every World Refugee Day, year after year, we hit another grim milestone. On June 20th, 2020, That grim milestone was 79.5 million forcibly displaced persons worldwide. And I'm sorry to say that this coming June 20th, we will almost certainly hit yet another grim milestone. There are more refugees than ever before because the international community has been unable, or perhaps more accurately, unwilling to work to stem the causes of displacement, nor to find solutions for those people who are displaced. And the pandemic, while it's been terrible for all of us, with many of us losing friends and families, has been especially hard for refugees, as these losses all come on top of their losing their homes and even losing their country. In recent weeks, the attitude toward refugees has improved dramatically in Washington, but that does not mean we are free to desist. There is still a lot of work to be done. Executive orders will simply not be enough. For example, the good news is that the White House has officially ended the Remain in Mexico policy, and I am so proud that HIAS is on both sides of the border, working to help asylum seekers who were victims of this inhumane treatment. But guess what? All arriving asylum seekers are still being forced to remain in Mexico, just under a different policy with a different name. And if and when the U.S. does start allowing new asylum seekers to seek protection at the border again, they will almost certainly be placed in expedited removal and detained in jails or in jail-like conditions. In other words, we continue to treat asylum seekers like criminals. That's just not acceptable. You and I have a lot of work to do, a lot of advocacy to do. More good news. The refugee ceiling for this fiscal year has been raised 316%. But raising the ceiling alone is just the first step in the rescue and resettlement of refugees. Raising the ceiling alone does not bring any refugees to safety. You and I have a lot of work to do in this area as well, a lot of advocacy to do. But way back in 2016, between Election Day and Thanksgiving, I traveled to Buffalo, New York to see for myself the beautiful refugee resettlement efforts of HIAS's partner, the Jewish Family Service of Buffalo. Their Syrian Muslim clients refer to JFS Buffalo as Jewish Family. In Buffalo, G, a refugee who had been a journalist in Syria, pleaded with me to help her reunite with her daughter and grandchildren who were living as refugees in Egypt. On January 28, 2017, the day after the Muslim and refugee ban, G texted me saying she had cried herself to sleep the night before, knowing her daughter will not be able to reunite with her. 4 years later, I finally heard from G again, this time on Inauguration Day 2021 at 11:51 a.m. G wrote me, "It's a happy day. Congratulations, Mr. Mark. Please bring my only daughter from Egypt. You promised me when we met in Buffalo 4 years ago, and I thank you very much. I love America." For us at HIAS, it's particularly meaningful that G's daughter and grandchildren are stuck in Egypt of all places. It is, after all, the Jewish experience of being stuck in Egypt and the experience of escaping from Egypt that informs the teaching reiterated more than any other that we shall love the stranger as ourselves, for we were once strangers in the land of Egypt. HIAS has saved millions of lives through refugee resettlement. Now, Moses was 120 when he died before reaching the Promised Land. Well, HIAS is now older than that, but we are still going strong, doing our very best to help refugees make it to the Promised Land, or at least to a Promised Land. At HIAS, we know failure all too well. We learn from it. We don't celebrate it, especially when failure means refugee families remain separated and remain in danger. For example, Anne Frank and her family were HIAS clients. That was a failure. We've been failing G for 4 years now, and I will not rest until we reunite G with her daughter. That's why I am so glad to have you here with me today, celebrating Refugee Shabbat. HIAS can only succeed when we have supporters, volunteers, and advocates behind us. Our greatest asset is that we represent a community, And your participation in Refugee Shabbat gives me hope that we will continue to be successful helping refugees, not because they are Jewish, but because we are. HIAS recently re-articulated our core values as an organization. Those core values are welcome, justice, courage, partnership, resilience, and empathy. The Torah tells us over and over again to love the stranger as ourselves, for we know the heart of the stranger, as we were once strangers in the land of Egypt. To me, that seems like the very definition of empathy. But as a Jewish organization, we felt it was imperative for us to translate our values into biblical Hebrew. And in doing this, we learned something interesting as we attempted to translate the word empathy. There is no ancient Hebrew word for empathy. In English, the word empathy describes a feeling. In Hebrew, the focus is not on feeling for the other, but on action for the other. Action based on remembering where we came from. Our empathy is a command for action. That is what HIAS is all about, what Refugee Shabbat is all about, and what we are all about. HIAS simply cannot do our work without you. Together, we can make the world a better place, not by words, not by feelings, but by action. By acting on our empathy for refugees through education, advocacy, direct service, and tzedakah. We hope you will continue to connect to your communities and to us to find out more about how you can get involved. We thank all of you who are already part of the Jewish movement for refugees, and we look forward to working together so the world stops setting new grim milestones and instead reaches good ones. Let's work together to reunite record numbers of families torn apart by conflict and persecution. Let's act together to set milestones for the number of refugees finding welcome, safety, and opportunity. Refugee Shabbat Shalom. Thank you so much.
We rise in body or spirit as we continue together with Aleinu. Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakol. Letay gedula liotzer bereshit. Shelo asanu kue haratzot. Velo samanu kamishpahot hadama. Shelo samchalkenu kahem. Vegor aleinu kechol hamonam. Ve'anachnu korim u'mishtachavim u'modim lifnei melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu shehu nota shamayim ve'osed haaretz u'moshev yikaro b'shamayim ima'al u'shchinatu zo Megov he meromi, hu Eloheinu enod, emet malkeinu efesulato, kagatuv betorato, piadatayom vehashevota elevavecha, ki Adonai hu ha-Elohim. Bashamayim imal ve'al haaretz mitachat ein od. May we gain wisdom in our lives, overflowing like a river of understanding. Loved each of us for the peace we bring to others. May our deeds exceed our speech. May we never lift up our hand to conquer fear and doubt and despair. Rise up like the Son of God over all humanity, cause light to go forth over all the lands between the seas, and light up the universe with the joy of wholeness, of freedom, and of peace. V'neh Lemar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad u'shemo echad. You may be seated. Our thoughts turn now to those whose yard sites fall at this time. If there's someone you are remembering and you'd like to share their name, please feel free to do so in the chat. Congregation is remembering Esther Askin, Arnold Barco, Sylvia Brown, Bessie Cohen, Dennis Dolan, Jennifer S. Elig, Tilly Finman, Bunny Gainsummy, Meyer Gardner, Anya Sophia Goldstein, Jesse Harris, Joan Perilous Heller, Edith Yeager, Max King, Sam S. King, Natalie Lincoln, Leon Lewis, Carol Muschio, Myron Reinheimer, Jenny Samler Leader, Francis Sellen, Joan Siegel, Norman N. Smith, Betty Weintraub, and Gail Weiner. We hold all those named and unnamed in our hearts as we recite the Mourner's Kaddish together. If you would, please rise in body or spirit. Yitgadal v'yit kadash shemei rabbah. Be'alma divrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei. B'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayed chol beit Yisrael. Bagala uzman kariv v'imru. Amen. Yehei shemei rabbah mevarach le'olam u'lamei amaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal. Shmei dekudisha brechu. La'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tush bechata v'nechemata. Damiran be'alma b'imru. Amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shamaya. V'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael b'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'mrumav. Huya say shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael b'imru. Amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us, to all Israel, and to all the world, to which we say, Amen. You may be seated. Quite a number of announcements. Tomorrow morning, we have Shabbat services on Zoom at 10 a.m., followed by text study. We're currently reading 1 Kings. There is religious school on Sunday, our weekly email on Mondays. Services next week at 7 o'clock here on YouTube, and Saturday morning next week, 10 a.m. on Zoom, followed by our Rosh Chodesh discussion at 11:30. We will be reading from Torah next week. And next week, which is Saturday the 13th, we're having a special Havdalah and healing service starting at 7 p.m. Some songs of healing, some readings, our Havdalah blessings as we mark a year of having shut our doors because of COVID. We hope many of you will choose to join us. And a reminder that the book club is meeting April 22nd. I'd also like to draw attention to Passover begins Saturday, March 27th. We'll be having our second night Seder on Zoom starting at 6 p.m. If you did not see the announcements about Passover in our newsletter, it was linked in Monday's email, but more information will be coming out this coming week. And we hope many of you will choose to join us. As it is Refugee Shabbat, I thought we would conclude with this song, We Are All Welcome Here by Rebecca Merski. I don't give it justice. I highly recommend hearing her sing it, but I hope you will join me. Some need wheels to get around, and some can use our feet. Some eat only vegetables, and some of us eat meat. Some need to be sober, and some can drink a beer. We are all welcome here. Some of us are brown, and some of us are white. Some wake up real early, and some prefer the night. Some of us wear burqas, some wear headphones in our ears. We are all welcome here. We are all welcome here. Let's fight with every ounce of love to end the senseless fear. We are all welcome here. Some of us are northern and some are from the south. Some of us believe in God and some of us have doubts. Some of us are straight, some are trans, and some are queer. We are all welcome here. Some of us were slaves and some of us were not. Some remember history, it seems that some forgot. When we choose to hate each other, I fear the end is near. We are all welcome here. Home of the brave, land of the free. Doesn't that mean you? Doesn't that mean me? Doesn't that mean one? Doesn't that mean all? Never thought it ever meant the building of a wall. We are all welcome here. We are all welcome here. We are all welcome here. May you both have a Shabbat Shalom as well as a feeling of community and togetherness, even through a virtual means. Thank you all for joining me this evening. Shabbat Shalom.